The first book I read was The Westing Game by Ellen Raskin. This story is told in third person and follows a cast of characters who live in an apartment building called Sunset Towers. Located next to Sunset Towers is the mansion of millionaire Sam Westing. Near the beginning of the story, Westing is found murdered, and the residents of Sunset Towers are called to a meeting where they learn that they are all included in Westing's inheritance, but that they can only receive the money if they successfully solve a puzzle. What's interesting about this book is that it has so many main characters, and a lot of them are adults, which I think is not too common for middle grade books. The character we're drawn to the most, however, is Turtle. She's 13 years old, feisty, and very clever. The fact that she's the kind of middle schooler who is invested in the stock market shows us her intelligence maturity, but what shows us this even more is her selflessness and moral maturity. In this darkly humorous story, we see a collection of mostly wealthy individuals go to absurd lengths to lie, steal, manipulate, and try to sabotage their opponents in order to become richer. Turtle, however, is the only person able to solve the mystery, and she does so without having to cheat. On top of that, she wins without ever letting anyone know because she doesn't see the point in flaunting her prize. She's just content with knowing she's won on her own. She also willingly takes the blame for a series of crimes committed by her sister so that her sister's reputation would not be ruined, which reveals a lot about Turtle's character. The way this story is told is effective. Raskin writes in a way that continually keeps the tension at a high. Layers to the mystery are added every chapter, twists large and small are strewn throughout, and at times it seems like every paragraph and even every sentence ends with a cliffhanger. Also, the fact that the characters were randomly paired up to solve the puzzle together creates unexpected tension and some hilarious moments. Despite the fact that there are so many characters, we can see them so clearly because they all have distinct personal problems they are facing, and we get to see how these private issues play out in the chaos that is the Westing mystery. The second book I read was Coraline by Neil Gaiman. Coraline is an 11-year-old girl who enters a parallel world seemingly better than her own. The food is tastier, the colors are more vibrant, and her new parents, her other mother and her other father, promise her everything she's ever wanted. When her real parents disappear, however, she realizes that this new world is actually evil, and her new mother's plan is to keep Coraline and trap her soul. Coraline's external conflict is saving her parents, herself, and the souls of three other children from this evil world. Her internal conflict changes from the beginning to the end of the story. At first, she's bored. Her world is dreary and dull. Her parents don't let her express herself in colorful clothes. She just wants something interesting to happen. When things get interesting, she realizes that she misses the comforts of her home and her parents, even the boring and the bad parts. Coraline recalls the story of how she and her dad were hiking and they stepped on a wasp's nest. Her dad shouted for her to run while she stayed behind getting stung so that the wasp would not follow Coraline and sting her too. He said that he wasn't being brave because he didn't have a choice. He had to protect Coraline. Similarly, Coraline needs to save her parents. She is courageous and she is clever. She faces the other mother bluntly, who I must say was horrifying. She hatches risky plans, and she outsmarts the villain in this incredibly uncomfortable and spooky world. And, like in most middle grade books, she's able to save the day by herself and by using what she's learned. I'll also note that the illustrations in this book were very creepy. They reminded me of scary stories to tell in the dark. The third book I read was When You Reach Me by Rebecca Steed. This book would probably be classified as science fiction, but it actually felt like the most realistic of the books I'd read. It follows 12-year-old Miranda, a girl who lives with her single mom in New York City. There are several stories being told, but the central story, and the most fascinating one to me, involves a series of mysterious notes Miranda receives. The author of these notes is unknown, but they appear in weird places like in her pocket or in her apartment. This book is told from Miranda's point of view and is addressed to the person writing these letters. It isn't until the end of the book that we realize the letters are being left to her by the homeless man in her neighborhood who traveled back in time from the future to save her best friend's life. And this man from the future is also one of her current classmates, if that makes sense. The old man wanted Miranda to record the story of what happened to give to this classmate who is the man. The story deals with class. Miranda and her mother are happy, but they both struggle to get by financially. Miranda compares herself to her classmates who live with both of their parents and have more money. The story also deals with themes of friendship, what it means to lose a friend, to make a friend, and the complexities and cruelties that can arise between kids. Miranda learns how to be a better friend by the end of the book, and the time travel element of the story gives her a broader understanding of life. I feel like kids reading this could totally see themselves in these characters, especially if they're from lower income households. And I think it's cool to see a book that deals with science fiction themes, time travel, without being too science fictiony. It's more of a glimpse into the seemingly mundane yet rich lives of these regular people.